that reality didn't just come upon us. We've had economic difficulties in the state, as you know, for many, many years.
Yeah, Carla, but in spite of that, here we are. We're back in a situation
in spite of that, here we are,
budget deficit. So apparently more would be indicated if you want to solve the problem.
Let me say this, Jim. In good economies and in bad economies, a contract is a contract. There's an obligation for government to keep people safe, to have a proper amount of firefighters and police officers, and to fund public safety. That is, it's everybody. It's easy to do that when the economy's good and we're flush with money.
Sure.
It's difficult when the economy is bad. It calls for some across the board sacrifices, which we are willing to do, have done. We just don't want to do it in two separate arenas.
Do you believe, or do you believe that possibly we could get to the point that has been suggested that the state would not be able to make a payroll?
I find that hard to imagine at this. I mean,
in other words, if what's going out is so much more than what's coming in, you would eventually get to the point they couldn't make the payroll, wouldn't they?
Well, eventually they have to actually do. Well, they have to do something, and that may mean.
Well, why not do something ahead of time?
Both raise revenue and cut spending simultaneously.
But it would appear to me that what the administration is trying to do is do that sort of ahead of time.
But there's a sort of serious disingenuous quality to this administration that is hiring, more people than ever in the governor's office itself. I recognize the names of many friends and family of the Christie administration, and they're not defunding.
Business as usual.
It's business as usual. The governor himself is one of the highest paid governors in the country. He hasn't taken a pay cut.
He doesn't make as much.
The last governor took $1. This governor is also a millionaire. This governor is also a millionaire. Not that we know that because he won't disclose his taxes, but this governor can well afford to not take a salary. And frankly, he should lead by example. He hasn't even taken a pay cut.
But if you're going to criticize the governor's salary, which is about $175,000 a year, I don't think it's the school superintendent of the state who makes that little. There are certainly union people who make much more than that. Not mentioning any. Jim,
I think that.
I'm not saying that the salary itself is the issue. I'm saying
those types of arguments, those salaries are really a microcosm of. I think we just have to be honest. When we talk about pensions, we have a problem. If you look at our system, police and fire, 80% is considered healthy. We're at 72% in the worst economy. The sky is not falling. So all we want is honest discussion. Let's not pretend that the world is coming to the end, and then in 2 and 3 years, when it's election time again, remarkably things have turned around, because that's been the trend, not with just this administration, but with all administrations. So let's just be honest. Let's find some real solutions, and stop again talking at one another, but looking at some serious remedies.
Okay, I got something I want to ask you that you had told me that it really is very surprising and rather shocking. Is the life expectancy of a person in your business. We're talking, of course, with Bill Lavin of the Firefighters Mutual Benevolent Association. Carla Katz, who's the attorney for the organization. You were telling me the life expectancy of somebody in your profession, actuarially, is what?
Is about 5 to 7 years after retirement.
And you retire fairly young by today's standards.
By today's standards, yes. It is a young man's job, and some of the discussions have been and women, sure. Why do you retire? Why are you allowed to retire without an age a restriction on that? And it really is. It's a young man's job. I mean, you have to maintain a certain physical fitness. And unfortunately, the rigors of the job on a daily basis and what you're exposed to, unfortunately, cancer, mostly heart disease. I hear discussions about different dangers of different jobs and what is considered a line of duty job. But many of our members in the fire service actually die of diseases after their retirement that could be related to back to fires
like
that they've
the
been at. 9/11 or in Elizabeth we had chemical control, and we've lost just an unbelievable amount of firefighters who left the job after that only to come down with cancer, and it could be related directly back to incidents like chemical control and some of these chemical sites.
So the person or the firefighter, when retired, life expectancy, is not as it might be in some other areas in which you could work another 50 years at another career. It's unlikely for you.
It's much. I mean, there are exceptions to the rules. I mean,
sure.
we're trying to change that. I think with the safety precautions and the use of masks and air packs and some of the recognition of staying healthy and keeping ourselves physically fit has changed that much to, unfortunately, some of the actuarials and people in government lament the fact that we're living longer. We're trying to keep our guys. We think they deserve it, and we're working towards that.
I want to ask you something. I know we're getting very pushed for time here this morning with a lot of business going on. The volunteer firefighters. I live in a town in which the firefighting is volunteer. They do not have any of the benefits. They do not have the pay. They don't have the pension or anything.
Right.
And yet they're very good at putting fires out. How can they do that without the other?
Right. Well, many of our firefighters come from the volunteer ranks, and they do a good job.
Yeah,
there's I live by this, and there's a certain amount of firefighters in order to effect a rescue and to put out a working house fire. If a community can put on the fire ground the 16 firefighters within a certain prescribed amount of time, whether they're volunteer or career, we don't care. What I'm concerned, in some cases, you have a pretense of a fire department where you have volunteers, you may have 100, 150 on the roll calls, but there may be 10 or 15 that are actually active. So listen, I recognize them. We support.
So you have a permanent, predictable force.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some communities you just can't justify having a career fire department.
Okay, there was something you wanted to bring up, and before we run out of time, I want you to. You were talking about a separation of.
From the union. I mean, whether we're talking about teachers or firefighters or cops or state workers, there seems to be, we're okay beating up and vilifying. We're picking on the union. We're not mad at the teachers. We're not mad at the firemen. Yeah. We just, it's the union guys that are bad. Well, we're one and the same. I mean, I'm a firefighter first. I happen to be a president of the firefighters union. Maybe not by choice. I was laid off back in '89, and I got active and involved. So, we take exception. You can't. I'm also Irish Catholic. I don't like the Irish in them, but I like the Catholic. You just can't separate the two. We're one and the same. Mm-hmm. The people who represent these great public workers unions are doing a great job. We take great pride in what we do, mm-hmm. and
nobody will deny that. But I think you get back to the fundamental here, which we are told is that the state economically is just not in the condition to continually support this because it's always growing.
Which means everybody needs to share in the sacrifice, including the wealthiest 1% of our state, and I think that's important for us to see.
All right, Carly, you got the last word. Thank you very, very much.